Testing 1, 2, 3, testing. Welcome, survivors. This is Eerie Knight of the Pseudoposse, and with the recent 1.2 update that enabled cross-play between PC and consoles for the first time in the game's history, I thought it would be fun to make the perfect multiplayer HordeBase. This base suits a variety of gameplay styles while still providing a cohesive cooperative strategy to dominate the hordes. As always, I'll provide a walkthrough of how the base works, how to build it, and what design decisions I made along the way. So let's get to it. Here it is in all of its chaotic glory. Beautiful, isn't it? Here's how it works. You gather your team, and in my case, that is just me and Taco, and you hold a vote to answer an important question. Who will be the human sacrifice? Or in nicer terms, who will be the bait? If you have a large group, feel free to vote for more than one bait. But alas, with just me and Taco, do I really need to say who got suckered into being the bait? Yeah. Apparently her vote counts twice. Anyways, the job of the bait is quite simple. Avoid dying. Simplicity is king. How do you avoid dying? By investing heavily in agility and outmaneuvering the zombies with some parkour. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, this part of the base is centered around the strengths of an agility playstyle. The bait can freely move around this platform and jump onto the cage to escape from the zombies. Zombies, however, are not able to move as easily, with the door trim 3-sided serving as a mechanism to slow them down. Since zombies do not see these shapes as paths, they won't try to directly run across them. Instead, they'll drop through the holes and need to jump out only to fall into the next hole. This allows the bait to get in some melee attacks, pop some shots off, and then make a quick getaway when they get too close. And for a burst of DPS, you can lob some Molotovs or grenades from up above, or step on one of these pressure plates to switch on the SMG turrets for 10 seconds. Normally, I avoid using turrets as much as I try to avoid being zombie dinner, but since this base is meant for multiplayer, and potentially crossplay at that, it would be much easier to maintain the supply of ammo with everyone working together in between the hordes. I would not advise doing this in solo play, though anything is possible. Anyways, I set the trigger duration to 10 seconds, so as not to chew through all of the ammo wastefully by having it on all of the time. In this way, you, as the bait, can choose when you need that extra damage. While you are running around, you also have a vulture protection cage, so if you are getting attacked by the aerial beaks of fury, run inside and take them out. Speaking of protections, the cage and the exterior is made of scaffolds to prevent cop spit from hitting you. That is the #1 danger as bait, so use the scaffolds to your advantage as much as possible. And if for whatever reason you feel like you are getting overwhelmed, you can make for the ladders against the tower to seek refuge inside to regroup. So if you aren't the bait, what exactly are you doing? Well, one of two things. You can directly support the bait from up above with your ranged weaponry, or you can throw some explosives down to help the bait take out large groups of enemies. If you don't wish to directly support the bait, you can turn your attention to the other side. Here, the other players can either melee or shoot at oncoming zombies climbing up the ladders. As zombies reach the top, there are also 2 sets of 2 blade traps providing an insane amount of DPS, and they are well within repairable range of the player to keep their hit points healthy throughout the night. Zombies will either fall and have to reclimb or get killed up top via the player or sliced by the blades. If we take a look at the base of the ladder, we can see divergent paths, one heading towards the ladder and the other path heading towards the bait. So when the bait is baiting, some zombies will peel off and head toward the bait, while others will still head toward the rest. If everyone is in the tower, then all zombies will head up the ladders, as there is no direct path from the cage area to the tower. The ladder heading up to the tower from the backside is not connected to the platform, so only the bait can get across. You'll be able to split up roles with this base quite nicely. The agility player or players, if in a large group, serves as the bait. Snipers or machine gunners work well from up above supporting the bait. You'll need an intelligence build to set up all the blade traps and SMG turrets. And of course, any melee weapon or gun will work well in front of the blade traps. Shotguns are extremely effective here due to the close proximity to the zombies, and while not the best melee weapon, the stun baton is quite fun to throw zombies backwards from the ladder into the blades. In short, there is something for everyone to do during the horde. The bait can help prevent the front from getting overwhelmed, head on out whenever the tower needs some relief, which gives a nice opportunity to make repairs. And everyone else focuses on pumping out DPS, keeping the blades healthy, and providing support to the bait. This base certainly isn't the most efficient killing machine, and many levels of cheese could be added to make the horde trivial, but I think this base provides a high level of fun for all involved. Alright, let's move on to the build section description of the video. The size and shape of the bait platform and the path leading to it can be tweaked based on the number of players, assuming the role of bait. You'll want a large enough space to move around, so I decided to make the door trim region a 10 by 10 section. I wouldn't go too much smaller than that, but you can certainly go a bit larger. You don't need to make it a perfect square, any shape will suffice. Nothing fancy here, just cubes at the base, pillars supporting the platform, which is also comprised of cubes. Next, we'll need to place 4 more support columns around the perimeter. Place these diagonally from the existing pillars with a gap in between. Make the height 1 block higher than the existing platform. The height of this column for me was 8 blocks from the ground. It doesn't need to be 15 blocks high to avoid rage, as zombies won't be dropping down over here, so you can save on materials by keeping it low to the ground. Fill in the gap formed by the structures with the stairs O2 shape colored in red. Because for reasons, there is no diagonal stairs O2 shape equivalent, so I used the ramp cube half corner bevel to fill in the corners. Next, we're going to make the pathway that leads from the tower to the bait platform. As mentioned previously, this path can be any size and shape. I decided to give it an angular look by using the rotated ramps colored in yellow there. Add supports when necessary to keep the structure supported. Make sure to leave at least a 3 block gap between the bait platform and the walkway where you don't want it to connect. Otherwise, zombies will absolutely be able to jump across it. Upon reaching the corner of the bait platform, I utilized more ramps to angle the pathway back around towards what will ultimately be the position of the tower. Time to build a foundation of the main defensive structure. We will construct a 7 by 7 base, first by placing full cubes with a 1 block gap in between. Upon reaching the level of the pathway, top the columns with more cubes colored in yellow here. Fill in the gaps between the cubes with the cube 3/4. Now we're going to connect the path to the tower. Again, this can be whatever size and shape, but I continued with the angular look, so I constructed a path that wraps around to the tower. Fill in all the cubes, and when ready, place the ramps in all the empty spaces. Because the base perimeter of the entire structure is fairly large, we don't want a single set of stairs that leads up to the zombie path. Using the stairs O1 shape, I created 3 stair sections around the structure to give zombies spawning anywhere around the base an easily accessible way up. If you only have a single staircase and the zombies decide to spawn on the completely opposite side, they might decide to bash on the support columns instead of running up, which is no bueno. For smaller bases, this isn't much of a concern, as the distance to run around a small base is obviously much shorter, so multiple entrances aren't necessary. Alright, now we're going to build up the tower. Since zombies will be dropping here, we want to make the height at least 15 blocks from the platform. Zombies are likely to fall directly back onto the platform, so we don't want them to rage and start beating on the ladders. Use full cubes and build up at least 15 blocks high. If you've got multiple people you are playing with and resources aren't a bottleneck, consider building even higher. As we did with the foundations, leave a block gap in between the cubes, as we will fill those in with cube 3/4 shapes. But stop 4 blocks from the top. We're going to enlarge the top fighting position by extending the floor outward using the wedge narrow shapes. Start with the wedge narrow high, followed by a cube, and place a wedge narrow tip on the face of it. Place another full cube and use the wedge narrow low. Lastly, place yet another cube and a wedge narrow middle. Repeat this pattern all around the tower. With that done, we're going to now position our ladders in front. This is where the zombies will come up to meet us in the blade traps. I decided to place 4 ladders for 2 reasons. The first obvious reason is for redundancy. In case a ladder is destroyed, we need extra. The second reason is we are using 2 stacks of blade traps, and that ensures a zombie climbing up any ladder will get sliced. We could probably have added a 5th ladder in there on the left side, but that isn't necessary. Up top, we are going to use the classic scaffolding ladder shapes to block the zombie path while allowing us to melee or shoot through the bars. Cover the area in front of the ladders 2 blocks high and place full cubes around them. Extend an overhang out above the scaffolds to place the blade traps. Because the blade traps are in the line of fire of cop spit, we want to give them a bit of extra protection to lessen the amount of damage they take. So I built a scaffold cage around the blade traps. This will also have the dual effect of trapping zombies that get knocked back off the ladder into the blade traps for extra carnage. To protect against vultures, we will need a roof. Stack cubes 3 blocks high with a 1 block gap around the fighting platform. Use cube quarter shapes placed against the top cube to provide support for another cube. Repeat with an additional cube, quarter, and cube. Finally, fill in the remaining gaps with the cube half centered. Ultimately, we will do the same thing colored in purple purple in between, except we'll use full cubes instead of the cube half-centered to connect both sides. One last thing, when filling in the front and back, I encountered a slight hole on the edges when trying to place a wedge 60 ramp in front of the cube quarter. After a bit of searching, I found the wedge 60 corner tip cube quarter shape, which has the same dimensions as the cube quarter on the one end and perfectly covers the gap on the other. Also, it gives a nice aesthetic on the inside, so bonus. Last thing we need to complete is the bait platform. Fill in the region between the stairs with the door trimmed 3-sided. Rotate the blocks to create a door-sized hole, which will be large enough to trap zombies within. Now you might be wondering why have the red stairs along the edge instead of placing the door trim flush against the cubes? Good question. Because zombies will get stuck in groups, they'll tend to beat on blocks surrounding them, and if they destroyed an edge door trim, they'd be forced to jump up to reach the outer perimeter of cubes if there were no stairs, which is great for slowing them down further, but not so great for the longevity, as zombies might start to beat on the outer perimeter of blocks as well. So the stairs were used to ease the transition, so if the edge door trims are destroyed, they can freely run up without causing more damage. Time to build the cages on the sides of the bait platform, the first of which will also house the SMG turrets. I used the cube half-ramp tips for that purpose. Place those along the edge, next to the aforementioned SMG turrets. Make sure to leave some space on either end and want to block this region off from zombies. In front of the turrets, stack railings 3 blocks high. This will allow the bullets to pass through while protecting turrets. On the sides, place cubes and cap off the top with more railings placed horizontally, which will serve as your floor. On the back side of the turrets, place the scaffolding ladder. This will protect them against cops spawning from behind and getting caught in the line of fire. And it will also protect you, so build it at least 3 blocks high above the railing floor. On the other side of the bait platform, we will repeat much of the same design as we just did, except we don't have turrets on this side. If you have the ability to upkeep double the amount of turrets, by all means fill those in. You could even substitute some dart traps in there if you'd rather use darts instead of the 9mm. Last but not least, once zombies are on the bait platform, we need some protection against cops, so there are some additional scaffolds in front along with a roof for vultures. Still leave some sections open so the bait can freely jump up and down, avoiding the horde. Well, I hope you all learned something new here. To be fair, some of the individual design features I've used before in other bases, but not meshed together quite like this. Certainly the innovation here is the bait. Agility players should be able to exercise their unique playstyle during the horde, so this gives them that opportunity. So what are you waiting for? Grab some friends and get to building. But before you head on out, consider hitting that like button and subscribing if you aren't already a member of the posse, and tap the bell for notifications. Thank you all so much for watching. Please leave comments below for what kind of things you'd like to see next. And as always, Taco and I extend our gratitude to our wonderful Patreon community. Your generosity powers this channel, so you have our sincere thanks. On that note, this is Eerie Knight signing off. See you all in the next one.